Welcome to the DragonCruiser. We're coming to you live today from Dunhuang, China. And wow, it is blustery out here.
It really is. You can feel that wind whipping up the sand. We're right on the edge of what feels like it could turn into a proper sandstorm.
Definitely. Not, ideal tourist weather maybe, but honestly, the view across this desert park, it's still absolutely grandiose. Quite something.
It is spectacular, and it's actually a pretty fitting backdrop for what we're diving into today.
Exactly, because fascinatingly, a whole lot of China's renewable energy production happens right out here in this region, which naturally leads us straight into today's mission.
Right. We've gathered some really compelling sources, material that points to a pretty pivotal shift happening in the global energy scene.
Specifically focusing on Tesla, and they're really significant, you might even say audacious moves within China's energy sector.
It's a complex picture.
Absolutely. So our mission for you today is to really extract the key insights, understand the strategic implications, and maybe uncover some surprising facts behind this whole situation. We're calling it Clash of the Titans, Tesla versus China's battery giants in a fiercely competitive market.
It connects tech, energy, economics. It's all intertwined, especially here.
Okay, let's dive right in then. The big news, the headline grabber. Tesla's putting down a massive $557 million, that's 4 billion yuan, to build China's largest battery station in Shanghai. Expected completion? 2027.
Yeah, it's a huge number.
It's more than just another factory, isn't it? This feels different, like a strategic earthquake, really tying tech and energy together in a new way. It signals Tesla digging way deeper into the energy game. In fact, one headline we saw just flat out declared Tesla is no longer a car company. What's your take on that? Is that accurate? Is it overblown?
Well, it's a punchy headline for sure, but when you dig into the sources we pulled, it gets a bit more nuanced. We saw comments like from Zachary, who actually worked at the Reno Gigafactory. He points out, look, Tesla's been building battery modules, Powerwalls, Megapacks for 15 years.
Right. They've been doing it for a while.
Exactly. And their core mission statement from day one was always about accelerating the transition to sustainable energy. So from that angle, maybe the cars were, as another comment from John Dixon suggested, almost a means to an end, a way to fund and develop the tech for Musk's bigger energy vision. So the question becomes, is this truly a new direction, or is it more of a massive expansion, a doubling down on what they always intended to do?
Okay, I hear that, but I have to push back a little. Even if the mission statement was always there, $557 million, the largest battery station in China. That's not just tweaking the strategy. That feels like a fundamental shift in capital allocation, in focus.
It's definitely a shift in scale, no doubt.
It feels like they're moving energy from, a side project or a long-term goal to a primary core business line right now. It's playing in a totally different league, wouldn't you say?
Okay, I see your point about the sheer scale and the message it sends. Maybe intensification or exponential acceleration is a better way to put it than expansion. It definitely solidifies them as a full-spectrum energy company, not just a car company that also does batteries.
Right, exponential acceleration. I can get behind that. It's massive, however you slice it. And Shanghai is clearly the linchpin here.
Absolutely.
They opened their first Megapack factory outside the U.S., in Lingwing, Shanghai, just this February, right? And it's already cranking out Megapacks over 100 already.
Yeah, the speed is impressive.
So why Shanghai for this even bigger battery station project? What makes it the spot?
Well, several reasons according to the sources. Shanghai just has world-class infrastructure already in place. It's close to key markets, both for supply chains and customers. And critically, the city and the region are known for strong government support for high-tech and innovative projects.
Makes sense. Plus, they already have the Megapack factory team and experience right there in Lingwing.
Exactly. It builds on their existing footprint. It's a logical hub for them to scale up these energy projects.
Okay, and just quickly, for anyone in our audience not totally up to speed, what exactly is a Megapack?
Good question. Simply put, Megapacks are huge battery storage units. Think shipping container size, basically. Each one holds about 3.9 megawatt hours, or MWH of energy.
And what do they do?
Their main job is grid stability. They can prevent power outages by kicking in instantly. They help smooth out the fluctuations you get from renewable sources like wind and solar storing power when the sun's shining or wind's blowing, and releasing it when it's needed. Essentially, they act as a giant energy buffer for the grid.
Got it. A giant buffer. Okay, let's zoom out a bit now from Tesla's move to the bigger picture. China's absolutely colossal appetite for energy storage.
Colossal is the right word. The numbers are pretty staggering.
The material we gathered shows China's aiming for 40 gigawatts of energy storage capacity before this year is even over. Half of all new global renewable capacity is being installed here. And the target for 2024 is something like 329 gigawatts.
Yeah, the ambition is immense, which creates this huge opportunity, but also, as you said, a really tough challenge.
And the core challenge is the renewables themselves, right? They don't provide power 2047.
Exactly. It's the intermittency problem. China's growth in wind and solar has been just explosive. Installed capacity went from maybe 11–12% in 2015 up to 36% last year. Generation jumped from 4% to almost 16%.
Wow.
But you can't always use that power the moment it's generated. We even saw a reference to Warren Buffett's comments at the 2024 Berkshire meeting. He basically said solar hasn't taken over because the storage problem isn't truly solved yet.
And that leads to waste, right?
A significant amount. We're seeing what's called the wind and solar absorption problem here. Utilization rates, the amount of generated power that actually gets used, have been dropping. The February data showed wind at 93.7%, solar just 93.4%. That means 6–7% is just lost.
They call it abandoned wind and solar.
Oh, that's the term, yes. Qifeng Qiguang, perfectly good clean energy just vanishing because the grid can't handle it or store it at that moment.
So if you've got that much energy going to waste, policy has to step in hard to force the issue on storage.
And it has. Chinese energy policy is a major driver here. The National Energy Administration put out guidance back in 2017, lots of documents since then. There are subsidies, sure, but the real kicker is mandatory allocation.
Mandatory allocation, what does that mean?
It means power generation companies, when they build new wind or solar farms, are required by the government to include energy storage capacity, typically somewhere between 10% and 20% of the renewable project's capacity. They have to build storage alongside it.
Ah, okay. So it's not optional. And the sources broke down storage into 3 main types of applications.
That's right, based on where the storage is and who's using it. First is power source side storage, Fadianse. This is the storage mandated by the state, built by the power generation companies, mainly to stabilize the grid right where the fluctuating wind and solar power is produced.
And for them, it's just a cost center.
Pretty much. According to the analysis we saw, it's effectively a pure cost for the generators. It doesn't really generate revenue for them directly.
Okay, what's the second type?
Second is grid-side storage pulse. Dian Win Qi. This is where the big power grid companies themselves invest in storage. Their goals are different. They want to regulate voltage and frequency, handle peaks and troughs in demand, what's called peak shaving and valley filling, and generally ensure a stable supply across the whole network.
So they have a direct interest in making the grid work better.
Exactly. And the third type is user-side storage, Yanggu. This is storage installed by the end users, factories, big commercial buildings, industrial parks.
And their motivation is mostly money and reliability.
Primarily, yes. Reducing their electricity bills by playing the price difference between peak and off-peak hours arbitrage, lowering demand charges, and crucially, ensuring they have a stable power supply. Remember those severe power shortages in Sichuan back in 2022?
Yeah, factories had to shut down, right?
Yeah.
Huge disruption.
Exactly. So now local governments are actually pushing policies to support user-side storage, especially for critical industries, to make sure they can keep operating even if the grid is strained. It's about resilience.
That makes total sense, especially after experiencing something like that. Okay, but let's circle back to that first category, the power source side, the mandated storage. You said it's a pure cost. The economic breakdown we saw in the material, frankly, it was pretty shocking.
This is where the story gets, well, really interesting and maybe a bit dysfunctional. The numbers laid out in one source are stark. Let's take a hypothetical 1 kWh storage unit. The upfront cost is around 1.5 million yuan, which works out to 1,500 yuan per kilowatt-hour.
Okay.
Then you factor in operating costs, degradation over its lifetime. The average cost to simply store and then discharge 1 kilowatt comes out to about 0.6 yuan.
Right, so it costs 0.6 yuan to cycle 1 unit of energy through the battery.
The price the power generator can typically get from the grid for that same kilowatt is only around 0.4 yuan.
Wait, so it costs them 0.6 yuan to provide the energy, but they only get paid 0.4 yuan for it.
Precisely. The calculation in the source estimated a net loss of about 502 yuan for that 1 milliW8 unit over its entire operational life.
Let me get this straight. They are mandated by the government to build something that is guaranteed to lose them money on every cycle. That sounds completely bonkers from a business perspective. What is the logic there? It's like forcing someone to buy losing lottery tickets.
That's the core tension, isn't it? It highlights a potential flaw in how the policy is being implemented on the ground. The intention, more storage, better grid integration for renewables, is sound. But the economic reality for the generators forced to build the storage is, oh, it's not good.
So what happens then? What are the consequences of forcing unprofitable investments?
You get exactly what you might expect. It leads to a race to the bottom in bidding for these storage projects. Companies try to build them as cheaply as possible, which inevitably raises concerns about product quality, reliability, and even safety.
Safety issues with massive batteries.
Yeah.
That does not sound good.
Not at all. And worse, we even see reports suggesting some generators find it more economical to simply abandon the renewable power, just let the wind turbine sit idle, or curtail the solar panel output rather than store the energy and sell it at a loss. The penalty for abandoning power might actually be less than the loss incurred by using the mandated storage.
Wow. So the policy designed to prevent wasted energy might actually be incentivizing it in some cases because the economics are backwards.
It seems that way, yes. It's a fundamental disconnect between the policy goal and the market mechanics it has created for those specific power source side installations.
That's a huge hurdle for the whole industry here.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to Tesla. How does their super efficient Shanghai Megafactory fit into this rather messy picture? We heard about the speed, 7 months from breaking ground to completion, twice as fast as their U.S. factory. That's insane.
It is incredible fast, and it points to two things, really. One is Tesla's own execution prowess. They know how to build factories quickly. But the sources also attribute it partly to the work culture here in China. The 996 culture was mentioned.
Right, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. That's intense.
It's demanding, absolutely. And that kind of pace undeniably contributes to getting massive projects done at speeds that seem almost unbelievable elsewhere. That efficiency is a huge part of Tesla's potential edge.
You know, it's funny you mention that speed. Being here in Dunhuang, even just walking around, you feel this energy, this relentless pace. You see the scale of everything, the infrastructure, these huge renewable farms nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And you really get a sense of that drive, that almost frantic pace of development. It's different from other places I traveled. It's palpable. And you can totally see how that translates into building a factory in record time. There's this sense of urgency, maybe, ambition. It's hard to put your finger on exactly, but it connects.
I think that's a great observation, and it ties into another point from the sources, this idea of Tesla's production costs approaching zero. We saw commentary from Jeff Lutz, a supply chain expert.
Right, the flywheel effect.
Exactly. His argument is that Tesla's massive scale, plus heavy automation, plus sophisticated AI optimization in their production lines, it's all driving down their cost per unit relentlessly. This flywheel effect lets them cut prices and maintain margins, which is incredibly powerful competitively. That Shanghai factory embodies this strategy.
So when Tesla sells these Megapacks in China, they're not just selling the battery cells themselves, are they? It's more complex than that.
Correct. Tesla is acting primarily as an integrator. They're selling a complete package solution. The batteries, the power electronics, the sophisticated software control systems, all bundled together. They leverage all the expertise they've built up from their electric vehicle business, the mature tech, the R&D, the AI.
And the actual battery cells inside the Megapacks,
Yeah.
Are they making those themselves in Shanghai?
Not necessarily, especially initially. The sources note that Megapacks predominantly use LFP batteries, lithium iron phosphate. It's a chemistry favored for large-scale storage in China because it's generally lower cost, offers a long cycle life, and is considered safer than some other lithium-ion types. Tesla often sources these LFP cells from major external suppliers, like CATL, who is a giant in the battery world.
Okay, CATL. That brings us squarely to the competition.
Yeah.
Because this isn't an empty market Tesla's walking into.
Far from it. The material makes it crystal clear. China's energy storage market is brutally competitive. Bidding prices are constantly hitting new lows. Profit margins are getting squeezed hard.
And the players are huge. Global titans like CATL, BYD. Didn't the sources say they hold something like 54% of the global battery market between them?
That's the figure, yeah. Plus you have very strong domestic Chinese integrators like Hisun and Sungrow, among many others. It really is a clash of the titans.
So Tesla dominates in North America with Megapacks, but you're saying China's a whole different ballgame.
Completely different dynamics. Take BYD, for example. They're massive in batteries, obviously. But in China, for large-scale storage systems, they seem to focus more on acting as a supplier of battery cells to other integrators, rather than competing head-to-head with those integrators using their own full system solutions.
Why would they do that?
Presumably to avoid directly competing with their own customers within China, they focus their system integration efforts more on overseas markets. It shows how complex and localized the competitive strategies are. It's incredibly intense.
Hang on. I still feel like we might be underplaying Tesla's hand here. Yes, the competition is fierce, but Tesla has that global brand recognition. They have proven efficiency, that Shanghai factory speed. They have potentially better cost control from their massive EV battery purchasing power. Surely they're positioned to just come in and completely shake up this market, just like they did with EVs in North America. Are we maybe underestimating their disruptive potential because the local competition looks so entrenched? This is Tesla we're talking about.
Look, that's a perfectly reasonable question, and their advantages are undeniable. Brand matters, tech integration matters, cost matters. They will make waves, absolutely. They'll secure contracts, they'll be a major player. But the sheer intensity and price sensitivity of the established Chinese market, with players like CATL and Sungrow already operating at huge scale and with deep local relationships, it's just a different beast, a complete shakeup, like in the US. Maybe that's too strong a prediction. They might carve out a significant niche, perhaps focusing on premium performance or specific applications, but displacing the established giants across the board. That seems like a much taller order here. It might require more collaboration, maybe, than outright disruption.
Okay, fair enough. It's clearly not a simple picture. Which brings us to some of the broader, more politically charged aspects mentioned in the source comments.
Right. This isn't just about kilowatt hours and profit margins.
No. We saw comments questioning Elon Musk's loyalties. The communist accusations, debates about whether this helps or hurts U.S. jobs, the ethics of deep engagement with China, concerns about IP theft. It gets complicated fast.
Yeah.
So is this purely about profit for Tesla? Or are people right to wonder if it signals something deeper about, say, geopolitical alignment or tech collaboration?
Well, our aim here is just to report what's in the source material, the different viewpoints expressed, without taking a side ourselves.
Of course.
The material definitely presents this tension. On one side, you see arguments that partnerships like this, Tesla investing heavily in China's green energy infrastructure, could actually be positive. A way to ease trade friction, maybe. A way for smart alliances, as one comment put it, to push technology forward and tackle climate change together.
A win-win, potentially.
Potentially. But then on the other side, you absolutely see those strong counter-arguments rooted in nationalism, security concerns, worries about economic dependency, and those long-standing fears about intellectual property not being respected. People clearly view this through very different lenses. Is it pragmatic business, a strategic necessity for the energy transition, or a risky entanglement? The sources reflect all those conflicting perspectives.
It's definitely complex, with no easy answers.
Oh!
Okay. So let's try to pull this all together. We've covered Tesla's huge Shanghai battery investment, debated if it's a strategic shift or an intensification of their mission.
Right, and why Shanghai is the key location.
We looked at China's massive energy storage needs, driven by renewables, but also the challenge of intermittency and wasted energy.
And how policy, especially mandatory allocation, is forcing storage builds, even when the economics for generators look pretty bad right now.
Which leads to quality concerns and maybe perverse incentives. Then we touched on Tesla's efficiency edge, the factory speed, the cost approaching zero idea, and their role as an integrator using LFP cells.
All playing out within this incredibly fierce Chinese market, where giants like CATL and BYD are already dominant, leading us to question just how disruptive Tesla can realistically be there compared to, say, North America.
And finally, acknowledging the complex geopolitical and ethical dimensions that swirl around this kind of major U.S.-China tech and energy interplay.
It really is a convergence of technology, economics, policy, and global strategy, all focused on solving this critical energy storage puzzle.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on. As Tesla and China become ever more deeply intertwined technologically, economically, in this shared pursuit of sustainable energy, what does this colossal collaboration, this frenemy dynamic almost, truly mean for the global balance of power? Not just in terms of trade or who makes the best batteries, but for the fundamental future of how we power our entire planet.
It's a big question.
It is. We'd love to know what you think. Drop your thoughts, your reactions, your own analysis in the comment section below. Let us know what you took away from this deep dive.
Yeah, definitely engage with us.
And of course, if you found this valuable, please give us a like, share it around, and make sure you're subscribed to the DragonCruiser so you don't miss our next journey of discovery. Thanks for joining us.